Welcome to Most Worth Coins WC, your trusted channel for discovering the most valuable and interesting half-dollar coins in U.S. history. Here, we dive deep into the stories, designs, rare errors, and hidden treasures behind Kennedy half-dollars and more. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your numismatic journey, you're in the right place. Subscribe now, and let's uncover the true worth of these historic coins together. The 1971 United States half-dollar marks a significant turning point in American numismatics, as it was the first year the U.S. Mint introduced the Eisenhower half-dollar series. This coin was issued to honor the late President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who passed away in 1969. A five-star general and the supreme commander of Allied forces in Europe during World War II, Eisenhower also served 2 terms as the 34th President of the United States from 1953 to 1961. His leadership during both war and peace, including his role in the post-war reconstruction of Europe and the establishment of the interstate highway system, made him a deeply respected figure in American history. The decision to commemorate him on the half-dollar was a fitting tribute to a man of such stature. Design and artistic representation. The obverse of the 1971 half-dollar features a left-facing portrait of Dwight D. Eisenhower, designed by chief engraver Frank Gasparro. It is a bold and dignified profile, marked by strength and resolve. Above Eisenhower's head arches the word Liberty, and below his neck truncation appears the motto, "In God We Trust," accompanied by the date 1971. The simplicity of the design reflects the solemnity and stature of the man it honors, free of unnecessary embellishment yet unmistakably presidential. The reverse of the coin carries immense symbolic weight. Also designed by Frank Gasparro, it features a dramatic rendition of the Apollo 11 mission insignia. This design was chosen to honor not just Eisenhower, but also the groundbreaking space achievements of the United States, notably the 1969 moon landing. The eagle is shown landing on the lunar surface, wings partially spread, holding an olive branch, symbolizing peace, while the Earth rises in the background. Surrounding the eagle are 13 stars, representing the original colonies, as well as the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, with the denomination $1 below. This choice of imagery ties together Eisenhower's leadership legacy with American scientific progress and national unity, composition and transition to clad coinage. The year 1971 also marked the first time the U.S. Mint produced the half-dollar in a copper-nickel clad composition for general circulation, abandoning the 40% silver composition that had been used for Kennedy half-dollars between 1965 and 1970. This shift was driven by the rising cost of silver and the increasing need for a cost-effective alternative in U.S. coinage. The clad version of the 1971 Eisenhower half-dollar has a pure copper core, sandwiched between 2 outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It is important to note that while the regular circulation strikes were made of copper-nickel clad, a special 40% silver collector version was minted in 1971 as part of the Blue Ikes uncirculated and Brown Ikes proof series, issued by the San Francisco Mint. These were not released for general circulation and were targeted at collectors, further distinguishing them from the Philadelphia and Denver Mint issues. Mintage and mint marks in 1971, the Eisenhower dollar was struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 47 million circulation strikes, while Denver produced slightly fewer, at approximately 68 million. The San Francisco Mint produced a much smaller number of silver-clad coins, both in uncirculated and proof formats. This makes the 1971's silver versions more desirable among collectors, especially when found in high grades with original government packaging. Mint marks can be found just above the date on the obverse. If the coin bears no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. A D signifies the Denver Mint, and an S signifies San Francisco. The S mint mark coins are the only 40% silver issues from this year. Historical significance and cultural context. The issuance of the Eisenhower dollar came at a unique moment in American history. The late 1960s and early 1970s were a time of intense social change, political upheaval, and technological achievement. In 1969, 2 years before the coin's release, the United States landed the first humans on the moon, a monumental event that inspired national pride and was mirrored in the coin's reverse design. Meanwhile, Eisenhower's death in March 1969 was met with widespread mourning, and his legacy as a wartime leader and president made him a natural choice for commemoration. The coin also marked the beginning of a trend in American coinage that continued into the late 20th century, using dollar coins to honor presidents and other national icons, a trend that would later give rise to the Susan B. Anthony dollar, the Sacagawea dollar, and the presidential $1 coin program. Despite its historical importance, the Eisenhower dollar never gained strong popularity in commerce. The coin's large size and heavy weight, 38.1 millimeters in diameter and 22.68 grams in weight, made it inconvenient for everyday transactions. As a result, many circulated examples remained in bank vaults or were hoarded by the public. The Eisenhower dollar was more successful as a collector's item than as a practical currency, leading the U.S. Mint to later issue smaller dollar coins in hopes of improving circulation. The 1971 Eisenhower half-dollar is known to exist with some notable die varieties and errors. Among these, collectors often seek examples with doubled, die obverses, or reverse design anomalies. While none of these varieties are especially common, they can be valuable in high grades. Additionally, because this was the first year of the Eisenhower dollar, many first-strike examples were preserved in exceptional condition by collectors and dealers, creating a market for high-grade certified coins. Another point of interest is that in 1971, many planchets were poorly prepared, leading to coins with weak strikes or inconsistent luster. As a result, finding a sharply struck 1971 Eisenhower dollar in pristine condition can be surprisingly difficult, and high-grade examples, especially in MS-65 or better, can command a premium on the secondary market. From a numismatic standpoint, the 1971 Eisenhower half-dollar holds modest monetary value in circulated condition, but is prized for its historical and aesthetic significance. In circulated grades, the coin typically trades at or just above face value. However, uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS-65 or higher, can fetch considerably more. Proof and silver-clad versions from the San Francisco Mint are particularly attractive to collectors, with proof-graded specimens often selling for $10, $30 or more, depending on condition and presentation. The Eisenhower dollar series has gained more appreciation in recent years, especially among newer collectors drawn to its Cold War symbolism, bold design, and affordability. It serves as an excellent entry point for those new to collecting U.S. coinage, offering a compelling mix of artistry, history, and variety. The 1971 Eisenhower half-dollar is more than just a coin. It is a capsule of American heritage. From honoring a beloved general and president to celebrating one of humanity's greatest achievements, the moon landing, this coin embodies a pivotal era in U.S. history. While it may not have succeeded as a circulating coin, it thrives as a collector's piece and a tribute to an age of leadership, courage, and exploration. Whether admired for its design, its story, or its place in numismatic history, the 1971 Eisenhower dollar remains an enduring symbol of American pride and progress. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar coin represents a continuation of the short-lived yet historically rich Eisenhower dollar series, which debuted just 1 year earlier in 1971. Struck from 1971 to 1978, the Eisenhower dollar was the last large-size circulating dollar coin produced by the United States Mint and the only one in U.S. history to feature a World War II general and president on its obverse. The 1972 issue, in particular, stands out among collectors not only because of its historical associations, but also because of a fascinating and unique design anomaly on its reverse that makes it one of the most studied modern U.S. coins. Like the 1971 version, the obverse of the 1972 dollar features a strong left-facing profile of Dwight D. Eisenhower, Ike, as he was affectionately known to millions of Americans, whose legacy as the Supreme Commander of Allied forces in Europe during World War II and as the 34th President of the United States made him a symbol of strength, peace, and democratic stability. Designed by Frank Gasparro, who also created the Lincoln Memorial Cent reverse, this bold portrait is surrounded by the inscription "Liberty" above, the national motto "In God We Trust" to the left of Eisenhower's neck, and the date, 1972. Below, with the mint mark, if present, just above the date. But while the obverse changed little throughout the series, it is the reverse of the 1972 Eisenhower dollar that makes this year's issue especially interesting and complex. The reverse design, also by Gasparro, was originally adapted from the Apollo 11 mission insignia, a tribute to America's achievement of landing on the moon in 1969. It shows an eagle landing on the lunar surface with an olive branch in its talons, wings outspread, and the Earth visible in the background above. This was meant to link Eisenhower's legacy of leadership and diplomacy with the technological triumph of NASA and the peaceful intentions of space exploration. The image is surrounded by the words United States of America and E pluribus, unum along the top, and $1 at the bottom. However, in 1972, the Mint mistakenly used 3 different Earth designs, known as Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 reverses, making this year's coin one of the most complex and collectible of the entire Eisenhower series. These design differences center on the appearance and geography of the Earth on the reverse, particularly the shapes and positions of the Florida Peninsula, the Caribbean islands, and South America. The Type 1 reverse was used primarily for Philadelphia circulation strikes and has a low-relief Earth with indistinct and chunky landmasses. This is the most common of the 3 types. The Type 2 reverse, which is the rarest and most valuable, features a high-relief Earth with very poorly defined landmasses, essentially a glob-like shape with little or no visible detail, struck only in Philadelphia, most likely with a proof die mistakenly used on business strikes. It is estimated that fewer than 100,000 Type 2 coins exist, making it a prized variety among collectors. Finally, the Type 3 reverse, also fairly common, corrected the design to a clearer, more detailed rendering of Earth, and was used on both Philadelphia and Denver coins later in the year. These subtle variations have given the 1972 Eisenhower dollar a kind of legendary status in numismatics, especially among those who enjoy die studies and minting anomalies. In terms of composition, most 1972 Eisenhower dollars struck for circulation at Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked D, were made from the standard copper-nickel-clad format, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. These coins weigh 22.68 grams and measure 38.1 millimeters in diameter. However, the San Francisco Mint, S mint mark, once again issued collector-only versions in 40% silver clad, both in uncirculated form, in blue pack holders, and in proof form, in brown box holders. These special collector issues contain approximately 0.3161 troy ounces of silver and are valued more highly, especially in original government packaging or in high-grade certified condition. The proof version from San Francisco typically displays deep mirror-like fields with frosted devices, a hallmark of modern proof coinage. Mintage figures from 1972 further illustrate the coin's relative accessibility. Over 75 million circulation strikes were produced at the Philadelphia Mint. with over 92 million from Denver, making the 1972 issue one of the most plentiful Eisenhower dollars overall. The San Francisco Mint produced approximately 2.2 million silver uncirculated coins and over 1.8 million silver-proof coins. As with most modern coins, condition plays a crucial role in value. High-grade examples in mint state 65 or above, especially those showing strong strikes with minimal bag marks, can fetch significantly more than face value. The Type 2 reverse variety from Philadelphia is by far the standout rarity of the year and can command prices from several hundred to well over $1,000 depending on condition. Despite the ambitious design and historical significance, the Eisenhower dollar never circulated widely in the United States. Its large size and heavy weight made it impractical for everyday use, and the public largely ignored it in favor of paper currency and smaller denominations. Nonetheless, the Eisenhower dollar did see limited use in certain casinos and vending machines during the 1970s, particularly in places like Las Vegas and Atlantic City, where its size and denomination made it convenient for gaming. The coin's popularity has grown considerably among collectors in the decades since its release, not only because of its bold design and patriotic themes, but also due to the wide variety of dates, mints, and special issues, including silver content and die types. For collectors today, the 1972 Eisenhower dollar offers a rare blend of historical depth, collectible diversity, and affordability. Whether one is hunting for the elusive Type 2 variety, assembling a full set of silver issues, or simply appreciating the powerful design that combines America's military leadership with space-age optimism, the 1972 Eisenhower dollar is a key part of U.S. numismatic history. It encapsulates a moment when the United States was looking both backward, honoring one of its greatest leaders, and forward, toward the stars. This coin, like Eisenhower himself, represents an era of bold ideals, complex transitions, and enduring national pride. The 1983 Kennedy half-dollar stands as a continuation of one of America's most iconic coin designs, one born out of national mourning but which, by the 1980s, had evolved into a coinage staple more symbolic than utilitarian. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, mere months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, as a way for the United States Mint to honor the beloved 35th president. Designed by Gilroy Roberts, obverse, and Frank Gasparro, reverse, the coin features a dignified profile of Kennedy facing left, surrounded by the inscription "Liberty" with "In God We Trust" split on either side of the neckline and the date 1983 below. By the early 1980s, this coin had become less common in everyday use due to its large size, limited practicality in daily commerce, and public habit of hoarding earlier silver issues. Still, it remained a cornerstone of U.S. coinage, both as a circulating coin and a collector's piece. The 1983 issue is particularly interesting because it was minted during a period of economic recovery and changing policies at the U.S. Mint. Notably, no mint sets were produced in 1982 or 1983, meaning that collectors had to rely entirely on circulation or special souvenir sets to obtain uncirculated examples, increasing the difficulty of finding high-grade coins from this year and raising their numismatic appeal. The obverse of the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar retained the original portrait created in 1964, but the dies by this time had undergone many refinements. On 1983 coins, Kennedy's hair and facial features are slightly softer than in earlier decades, owing to wear on master hubs and changes in minting technology. The reverse, also unchanged in major form, showcases the presidential seal, a heraldic eagle with wings spread, holding an olive branch and arrows in its talons, with a ribbon reading "E pluribus unum" in its beak, a shield on its chest, and a circle of 50 stars surrounding it. This patriotic imagery connects directly to Kennedy's role as a Cold War leader and a symbol of youthful hope and American resolve. The inscriptions United States of America and half dollar are rendered boldly above and below the eagle, respectively. The meticulous design, even on worn circulation coins, reflects the care taken in portraying presidential authority and national strength during a turbulent period in American history. By 1983, the Kennedy half dollar had long ceased to contain silver for circulation, having transitioned fully to the copper-nickel-clad composition beginning in 1971. This modern clad version consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. The coin weighs 11.34 grams and measures 30.6 millimeters in diameter with a reeded edge. Although visually similar to the original silver issues, clad Kennedy halves lack the same intrinsic metal value and the distinctive ring of a silver coin. Nevertheless, they remain important to collectors and historians alike. The 1983 Kennedy half dollar was produced at 2 mints for general circulation: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D mint mark. A third mint, San Francisco, did not strike regular proof coins for collectors in 1983 because the U.S. Mint had suspended the production of both proof and mint sets in 1982 and 1983. Focusing instead on reducing costs during a challenging economic period. However, a limited number of souvenir sets, containing specially selected coins, were sold to visitors at the Philadelphia and Denver Mint gift shops, making these sets the only source of high-grade uncirculated examples for the year. Mintage. Figures for the 1983 half dollar reflect a healthy output, with 34,139,000 coins struck at Philadelphia and 32,472,244 coins produced at Denver. While these numbers may suggest that the coins are common, the reality is more nuanced. Because there were no standard uncirculated mint sets issued in 1983, almost all of the Kennedy halves entered circulation. As a result, finding pristine, high-grade examples, especially in MS-66 or better, is surprisingly difficult. Many surviving coins from that year show signs of heavy wear, bag marks, or weak strikes, making the search for gem-quality specimens both challenging and rewarding. In recent years, top-graded 1983 Kennedy halves certified by PCGS or NGC have garnered attention from serious collectors, with prices rising into the hundreds of dollars for the finest examples, especially with the full bell line's equivalent, known as full strike or strong details for Kennedy halves. Adding another layer of interest to the 1983 Kennedy half dollar are the known varieties and errors. Among the most sought-after are doubled die obverses and reverse strikes, though these are less common in 1983 than in some earlier years. More commonly encountered are strike-through errors, off-center strikes, or die cracks, all of which are of numismatic interest and can elevate a coin's value depending on the clarity and severity of the error. Collectors often examine 1983 halves carefully under magnification, checking for such anomalies, as well as for particularly well-struck examples that stand out from the generally middling strike quality of the year. The Kennedy half dollar, by this time, had also become emblematic of the shifting role of large coins in American commerce. While the half dollar was still struck for circulation, actual public use was minimal. Vending machines didn't accept them, banks rarely dispensed them in rolls, and most Americans preferred quarters or dollar bills. Still, the Kennedy half dollar was produced in large numbers due to continued collector interest and for use in casinos, military exchanges, and sometimes in commemorative presentations. The 1983 coin, therefore, occupies a unique space. It was widely struck, rarely saved in mint condition, and forms part of a larger trend in which coins were increasingly minted more for collecting than for commerce. Today, the 1983 Kennedy half dollar has gained popularity among modern collectors, especially those building date and mint mark sets of the series or focusing on the harder-to-find 1982-1983 uncirculated issues. It is an ideal piece for those interested in late 20th century U.S. coinage, embodying the technical standards, political reverence, and economic considerations of its era. The coin is also frequently included in discussions about how the mint adapted during periods of austerity and what those adaptations meant for both everyday users and hobbyists. In circulated grades, the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar remains affordable, usually trading for around face value. However, in higher mint state grades, particularly from souvenir sets or with strong strikes, it becomes a compelling target for registry set collectors and specialists. In conclusion, the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar is much more than just another clad coin in American change. It is a tangible link to a president whose ideals shaped a generation, a product of economic policy decisions that reshaped how the mint interacted with collectors, and a symbol of how even modern, ordinary, coins can tell deep stories about their time. Whether viewed through the lens of design, historical context, or rarity and high grade, this coin represents a meaningful chapter in U.S. numismatic history, connecting the glamour of Camelot to the practical realities of coin production in a modernizing world.